Condition scoring is where we assess the fat depth on the animals, ideally by getting our hands on the animals, and we score it in this country on a scale of 1, which is very lean, through to 5, which is very obese. And we're trying to encourage farmers to get their hands on the cattle and to score the condition, because we're finding that quite a lot of animals are too lean or they're too fat compared to the industry guidelines. And this is important because we know that when cattle are pregnant and they're overweight, there's a risk of calving problems because there's too much fat around the birth canal to push the calf out. But we're also finding that there's a risk when cows are too lean also. There's some work from others showing that lean cows are at greater risk of fertility problems and difficulty getting them back in calf, but also they have calving problems as well because they simply run out of energy to push the calf out when they're giving birth. Some of the work we've done for the Scottish Government is also suggesting that cows which are lean when they're giving birth have calves which have poor vigour. That means they don't have the get up and go to get on their feet and find the udder and suckle and get the colostrum. And that colostrum is really important for them to get the antibodies they need to set them up with a good immune system throughout life. So lean cows as they come up to calving are a problem because of this poor vigour. We've also found that cows which lose a lot of condition over pregnancy, those that start pregnancy quite fat and then lose a lot of condition, they're at particular risk of calves with poor vigour and poor growth as well. So what we're trying to encourage is to get the cows in the right condition and to keep them in the right condition throughout, rather than them changing condition dramatically. So if you need to change the condition of your cattle, try and do it gradually and keep them at a fairly even level of condition. Most farmers in this country condition score their cattle by eye as they're walking past the animals, as they're walking past the field. They're just checking them and spotting any that are too lean or overweight, or doing so in a pen. That's great. It allows you to assess the condition of the animals every day. But you tend to notice things when they've deviated already, when animals are already lean or when they're already too fat. So we're encouraging people to try and get their hands on the cattle whenever they're handling them anyway, whenever they're putting them through the crush for another purpose, to get their hands on the animals. And you'd be surprised by how many cows look quite fit, but in actual fact when you get your hands on them they're quite lean. And particularly as they go through pregnancy and the uterus gets bigger and bigger and balloons outwards, an animal which is actually quite lean can appear quite fat, and it can be surprising until you get your hands on them just how lean some of those animals are. So it's great if you can build in hands-on condition scoring as well as doing the condition scoring by eye.
So when we condition score here, we're never going out our way to handle the cows separately for any sort of handling or condition scoring. We always tie it in with another event that we're doing, such as we're weighing them at weaning time, the cows are getting vaccinated, etc. So the main time we condition score is at weaning time. Just because they're coming in off grass, we're going to house them, and it just lets us group them according to their condition score. Anything that's a lot lighter or anything like that means we can pull them out, treat them a bit nicer, a bit better, feed them a bit better up during the winter, and that way they're in better condition when it comes to the springtime. Condition scoring I've always found is quite easy to learn and to do. It doesn't take long once the cow's in the crush for what else you're doing anyway. All you've got to do is get 2 hands on her. You're maybe 15 to 25 seconds maximum depending on the cow. A lot of the time before we even condition score our cows here, once they're inside the shed or even out when they're at the field, you can pick up 70 to maybe 75% of the condition scores on the cows visually within probably half a score. But what it means is once you get your hand on them, you can be a lot more accurate and you can pick up things that you couldn't pick up by looking at them. So we have got our lines here at Easter Howgate. They're traditionally a very hairy breed, so they actually can hide quite a lot. So it means we can pick up a lot of problem cows or thinner cows quicker and treat them and sort them than we would do otherwise just by visually looking at them, and then we'd be further down the line and it might be a bigger problem for us to treat them at the same time. One of the other benefits that I find is when we condition score them as we house them, we put them into their batches, then that takes them over October, November, December, January. We're a March, April calving herd here, so we'll be giving them their calving vaccine boosters around about the middle of February, start of February. And at that time we also condition score the cows again, and it just means we get a last chance just to pick up anything that is maybe slipped through the net or just isn't performing as good as what it should be, and it just means we get to put them on a better diet for when they're going to calve, and it just means they're in a better condition score and a better health at calving time than what they otherwise would have been.
So when we're condition scoring by hand, the 2 points of the animal to be focusing on are the short ribs just in front of the pelvis and the tail head here. The short ribs in particular are quite informative. So inside of the animal's body you have the spine and you have the transverse processes or short ribs sticking out here. And the best thing to do is to use your thumb and see how much fat there is between the skin and the point of these bones here. So push your thumb in and see how much fat you can feel. So in this part of the body here, and on what we're looking for is to be able to feel those bones, but for them to be nicely rounded. If they feel sharp, then the animal is too lean. If you're pushing your thumb in there and you really can't feel those bones at all, even with quite a lot of pressure, then the animal is at least a condition score 4, so she's overweight. So that's a kind of safe zone. You want to be able to feel the processes, but they should feel rounded. If they're sharp, then the animal is too lean. If you can't feel them at all, even with quite a lot of pressure, then the animal is too fat. So if you can keep them within that good condition zone where they're not too sharp, but you can still feel the processes, then you're in a win-win-win kind of situation where you're not giving food to cows that don't need it and making them too fat. You're getting better calves with more vigour, they grow a bit faster and with an easier calving, and you've got happier cows and calves.